New security video showing the moment a pastor tackles a man with a gun in church.
What a story. Metro police say 26-year-old Desiree Baganda, hope I'm saying that right, pulled a weapon during the Sunday service, but the pastor and church members stopped him before anybody got hurt.
Good news there. Fox 17 News' Jackie Del Pilar at the Nashville Light Mission Pentecostal Church with a breakdown of this dramatic video.
Police say they were called here to the church Sunday afternoon on reports of an active shooter, but fortunately no shots were ever fired thanks to the quick action of the church pastor. You can see the suspect emerge from the right corner, pull a gun from his back waistband, and start waving the handgun in the air. Some people in the back pews begin to duck as the man continues to talk with the congregation. You can see the pastor circle around the right side of the screen behind the man. He lunges at him, tackling him to the ground. Other church members help secure the gun and hold the man on the floor as the rest of the church files out. Police say the gun was loaded but never fired. Court documents say the suspect told officers that he's Jesus and all churches and schools need to be shot up. The pastor told police the suspect is not a church member but has attended services in the past. I'm speaking with the church pastor later this evening, what he has to say on Fox 17 News at 9. Reporting in North Nashville, I'm Jackie Del Pilar with Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Now, the Mid-State saw a very different outcome back in 2017 when a man brought a gun into an Antioch church. One woman died and several others got hurt when police say Emmanuel Sampson opened fire in the Burnett Chapel Church. Sampson is currently serving a life sentence, without parole.
In the path forward, some local nonprofits are urging Metro Nashville city leaders to invest in violence intervention programs. This comes as the city experiences an increase in violent crimes compared to last year. Fox 17 News' Jackie Del Pilar tells us those nonprofit leaders hope to get a cut of COVID relief funding to help the problem.
Metro Financial Oversight Committee has started the process of trying to figure out how to allocate hundreds of millions of dollars in federal COVID relief funding to various departments across the city. Now, I spoke with one local nonprofit founder. She says many communities experienced an uptick in violent crimes during the pandemic, so she thinks that part of that money should be dedicated to those organizations who are working to stop the violence. In December 2003, Clemmy Greenlee lost her only son to gun violence in Nashville. She's since dedicated her life to curbing crime and violence on Nashville streets through her nonprofit, Nashville Peacemakers.
My program is an unconditional loving program. I'm different on purpose.
Greenlee says she was excited when Mayor John Cooper asked nonprofits to apply for grants as part of a new state-funded community safety program. But she was soon disappointed when she learned she and other grassroots organizations would only qualify for $5,000 grants out of a $2 million pot.
It's purely shameful, degrading, disrespectful, dehumanizing, all of that.
The funding announcement comes as Nashville experiences an increase in violent crimes this year. Data from the Metro Police Department shows homicides are up this year versus this time last year, along with an increase of people hurt by gun violence. Greenlee says she and other grassroots organizations could make a bigger impact on these issues if they had better funding.
We are the streets. We came from the streets. We are the streets. We know how to get the streets. We know how to organize the streets.
Greenlee is now shifting her focus to seek grant funding through the city's federal COVID relief funds. She penned a letter to the Metro Financial Oversight Committee urging them to dedicate part of the money to community-based violence intervention programs. The chair of that committee tells me nonprofits are welcome to apply for the funding and will be considered if their organization falls within funding guidelines. I reached out to the mayor's office on this, and I'm still waiting to hear back.
The legislation includes restricting vaccine requirements and mask mandates, but there's more to it. Hospitals will be required to change their COVID-19 protocols for loved ones. Fox 17 News' Amanda Chin spoke with a family whose son was hospitalized with COVID-19 to get their thoughts.
The bill says a hospital would not be allowed to restrict a patient from having at least one loved one stay with them. And while hospitals are concerned, some families are relieved. Geraldine Mulder's son Vincent was in the hospital for 23 days after testing positive for COVID-19 last year. 22-year-old Vincent has special needs.
He really can't decide for himself and things like that, and he really needs a lot of like care and attention.
Geraldine says Vincent's condition was very serious with damage to his heart and lungs.
Like everything is just shutting down, and at the time, and to be honest, I really don't think that he could make it at the time, because I've never seen him that sick.
Geraldine implored doctors to let her stay with Vincent by his bedside since hospital protocol did not allow her to be with him.
I begged them that I wanted to take care of him because I know that I could take care of him. I know his situation.
Doctors let her, which is why she agrees with this part of the bill that requires hospitals to allow a loved one to be with a patient during a public health emergency.
They have like loved ones that passed away that they wasn't able to be there, in their last moment of their lives where they could talk to them and hug them.
But a spokesperson for the Tennessee Hospital Association says they have some concerns regarding a late addition to the legislation dealing with visitation for COVID patients and how that provision will ultimately be implemented. I reached out to Speaker Cameron Sexton and Lieutenant Governor McNally's office for clarification on the bill, but I am still waiting on a response.
Do you feel there's a risk with maybe passing along infection when it comes to COVID-19?
I would rather take that risk to be with my loved one, to take care of them, or to have that very moment, because I don't know how, what tomorrow will bring.
Governor Lee says his team is still evaluating the elements of the bill, and until he's done that, he does not have any opinions.